Jesus said, "Follow me." Thus 10 faithful Lutherans from Pennsylvania, led by George Schmucker and his wife Mary, came to Iowa and organized the First Evangelical Lutheran Church of Tipton, Iowa. A new church was built September 25, 1859. This building was a frame of 16 by 36 feet. The congregation worshiped in this church until 1905 when the new building was erected. This was the only interior picture found of the original church. Later this became the north room of the church in 1905. The contractor was originally going to take down the old building, but plans changed and the old church was added to the back of the new church. The cost of this church was $9,000. The bell tower you see in this photo was purchased for the old church in 1878 for $320 and weighed 934 pounds. In this 1905 picture of the interior, you will notice the antique clock that is over 100 years old and is found in our fellowship hall today. See the receipt for a payment for the pews, which cost $567. This is a copy of a 1904 utility bill for $8.36 for the period of January 1 until April 1. In 1922, notice that the window was filled in to make room for the new altar. The picture of the Last Supper above the altar was later replaced by the cross in 1944. The reredos, or top, of this altar is in the corner of our new church. The base serves as our present altar today. This interior view shows a 45 bulb chandelier and the curved pews. This baptismal fount was given in 1955 in memory of Mrs. Carrie Escher and Mrs. Osceola Morden, who is Lucille Maury, Jane Hawley, and Louise Morden's mother. It is still used today to perform the sacrament of Holy Baptism. This exterior picture taken in 1936 depicts the removal of the steeple due to a water problem. This first parsonage was also the birthplace of the Women's Home and Foreign Missionaries Society of Iowa in 1875. The stained glass window of the 1905 church commemorates this event and was salvaged to become part of the current building. This parsonage was built in 1907 for slightly over $3,000. It was remodeled in 1961. Larry Hansen purchased the parsonage and moved it in March 1995. Housing allowance was then given to the pastors. This is a picture of the plans for the educational building and the original plan for the future church, which was never used. In 1962, the educational building was built and dedicated. Mrs. Mildred Bossert Zimmermaker, a descendant of one of the founders, left money in her will for this building. The cost of the building was approximately $45,000. In 1982, $1,000 as seed money for the new church building was donated by Elmer and Dolores Cundy. Shown is the architect, Brian Whirling, and the current building fundraising committee. Sunday, August 11, 1991, was the last Sunday for worship in the old church. Shown is Bev Oldham carrying the cross as she leads a procession to the fellowship building. The 1905 building was structurally unsound, so a $390,000 church was to be built. Workers carefully removed the stained glass window from the front of the church, August 20, 1991, to be used as the focal point in the new church. A crane is used to lift out the church bell from the tower to be displayed at a later date. Two Trinity members watch as the church building crumbled to make room for the new structure to be built on the same site. Another picture of the demolition of the church taken the week of August 28, 1991. Pastor Sandro breaking ground for the new church. Pastor Sandro gives a blessing to the site. Inspecting the progress of the construction of the new church on a cold, snowy Sunday. This picture shows the front of the church and its connection to the educational building. Work days in the new building with Bryce Whirling painting trim. Dolores Cundy and Bev Oldham varnishing trim. Bob Thumma is staining trim. Dolores Cundy is painting the black space for the organ speakers. Bryce Whirling leading the procession from the educational building for the first worship in the new church. Notice the makeshift altar for the first Sunday of worship. This is a finished nave showing our beautiful pews and a stained glass window. Notice in the corner is the altar top saved from the old church. A photo of the finished church with the new landscaping, the new home of Trinity Evangelical Lutherans. The bell had been stored in Mike Moe's barn from the time it was removed from the old church. Adam White drew up the plans to display the bell for his Eagle Scout project. Many members spent hours tending the beautiful flower gardens around our church. Over the 150 years, we have been blessed with 39 pastors. Unfortunately, we do not have pictures of all the pastors, but we have included all that we can locate. There is a complete listing in the historical bulletin. Solomon Ritz was our first pastor from August 12, 1855 to April 1, 1858. This is Reverend D.S. Altons. He was the fifth pastor to serve Tipton from 1866 to 1869. The seventh pastor was John K. Bloom. He was a pastor here when the Women's Home and Foreign Missionary Society was founded. W. W. Hess was the 14th pastor from September 14, 1902 to November 6, 1905. He was here for the new building of 1905. Reverend J. Kent was here from October 24, 1905 to November 1, 1911. He lived in the basement of the church and the back room upstairs while the new parsonage was being built. The 17th pastor was E. H. Gilmer from August 16, 1924 to November 3, 1915. Max Pinkert, 1937-1942, Raymond Tiemeyer, 1950-1953, Arthur Simpson, 1934-1937, George Arbaugh, a supply pastor, Reverend Frederick Bolt, 1928-1930, and Mrs. Minnie Olson, Synod President. These pastors were present for our church centennial in 1955. Reverend Harder, June 1953, July 1955. George Fisher and his family, 1961-1964. He was our pastor during the building of the educational building. Harold Gillespie, June 1964-1967. Ben Warrenberg, 1967. Reverend Matthew Martins, 1978-1981. During his term, 13 families from the Shalom congregation united with Trinity Church on May 14, 1978. Pastor David Franker, 1981-1986. Pastor Donald Sondrel, March 29, 1987 to October 16, 1994. Pastor Mary Egerling was installed as our first woman pastor at Trinity from August 1995 to January 2000. Pastor Donita Moeller from October 2000 until the present. This is where the first movement in forming the woman's missionary work was made, August 20th, 1875. These are minutes from the earliest secretary's book. The actual 1887 secretaries and treasurer's books will be in a historical display case in the entryway. One of the women was appointed each year to lead the Light Brigade, which was a group of the children of the church. The aim was to give missionary instruction to our boys and girls to train them for world service. Lucille Morden Mowry is in this picture. An early parade. Notice the women's dues in 1936. Birthday party for Marie Says in 1965. Kay August and Beth Aarons preparing snacks for Vacation Bible School. Lucille Mowry's birthday with Sister Jane Hawley and Betty Hannah the Clown. The women make quillos and lap quilts for the high school graduates. Dolores Cundy is forever sewing quilts. Church women tying quilts in the fellowship hall. Banner with Trinity's children's handprints and also children in our companion church in Tanzania. Women's Fall Retreat in 2001 at Janelle Stevens' home. This is Hai T. Lam and family from Vietnam who Trinity sponsored as they came to the U.S. in 1979. In the 1940s, these men of Trinity cooperatively planted and harvested an acreage of corn to pay a debt on a heating plant. Elmer and Dolores Cundy, May 1947. Mike and Jeannie White, June 1977. Darrell and Carolyn Sissel Elkin, October 16, 69. Jean and Helen Sissel, June 16, 1946. Richard and Evelyn Meyer, September 30, 1964. Mike and Deb Cook, 1980. Alan and Kathy Daedlow, May 28, 1976. Joe and Rosemary McElhaney, June 1963. Lisa and Brian Newcomer, August 7, 1993. Bev and Dave Tripp, March 8, 1997. Steve and Shelley Sissel Lundberg, June 9, 1984. Ken and Lynn Whirling Decock, May 14, 77. Gary and Shelley Chapman, December 5, 81. Ellen and Harlan Hanks, November 28, 69. Kenneth and Ann Murick, 8/6/81. Brad and Stacy Chapman, May 18, 1996. 50th anniversary of John and Blanche Aarons, November 1985. 50th anniversary of Bryce and Dolores Whirling, January 2002. Brandon August, April 1994. Pastor Martins baptizing Anita August. Pastor Martins baptizing Nathan Daedlow, August 2, 1981. Kevin Hines baptism with parents Larry and Elena and sponsors Dick Hine and Sonia Seebeck. Pastor Mary baptizing Noah Pelzer with parents Mike and Kim Pelzer. Adam Hines baptism with Pastor Sandro and Kevin and Jeanette Hine. Keaton Segabart's baptism with Mother Michelle, sponsors Ryan and Nate Daedlow and Melinda Coleman. Elisa, daughter of Brad and Naoko Baylitz, baptized August 11, 2002 with grandparents Ron and Carolyn Baylitz. Jessica Hines baptism with parents Donna Anderson and Mark Hine. Sponsors are Kevin and Jeanette Hine. Pastor Danita baptizing Jake Cruz with parents Christy and Eric Cruz. Alexander Schutz baptism with Pastor Danita and parents Clayton and Jennifer and brother Niall. Louise Morden and Jane Hawley are included in this 1927 picture of Vacation Bible School. This is Vacation Bible School picture taken in 1929. Present in this picture is Mildred Whirling, Jane Hawley, and Louise Morden. This was a children's Christmas program in 1990. Dave Stevens rounded up the Sunday school kids for a ride in his wagon. There is learning under the big top at Trinity's Sunday School Roundup. Dan Yonda and Lynn Rechterman are watching the finale of the Roundup. Peg Bixby has taught preschool students for many years. Sally Cruz has been a Sunday school superintendent and teacher also for many years. Jeannie White shares her artistic talents with her Sunday school class. Matt Neeram is working with his class on an art project. Kay August and Jody Gilliam are doing crafts with Vacation Bible School. The first and second graders are listening to the good news from Gale Countryman. Refreshments are being served by Melissa Myers at Bible School. Deb Thumma is assisting with the preschoolers. Pastor Danita is teaching the adult Sunday school class. Andy and Ginger Zorb are working with the older students. Sunday school opening for the preschoolers. Shalom Sunday School students that merged with Trinity on May 14, 1978. A Sunday school program in the 1980s. Sunday school students practicing their singing for a Christmas program. This is the dress rehearsal for the 2004 Christmas pageant. Sally Cruz's puppets helped in a Christmas pageant in our 1905 building. These are a smiling group of Bible school students in 1967. Pastor Pinkert with the confirmation class. Gene Sturdy and George Morden, Lucille Mowry's brother, are present here. A 1953 class with Pastor T. Meyer, Delores Schnipke-White, Joanne Seitz, Luann Albaugh, John Fry, Joanne Williams, David Williams, Delmer Schnipke-White, and Nancy Ball. Lorna Seebeck. Pastor Harder with Fred Schnipke-White, Judy Peck, Christine Osterkamp, Bonnie Kenyon, and Julia Fry. Reverend Koch in the confirmation class of 1940 with Helen Sissel. Hilda Ahrens on the left at around 1929. She was John Ahrens' sister. The class of 1973 with Pastor Jorgensen. Those present are Nancy Thumma, Kevin Lewis, Gary Chapman, Lori Sturdy, Elizabeth Kupinski, Shelley Sissel, and Kim Whirling. Pastor Jorgensen with Brian Whirling, Randy Sissel, Denise Hanna, Renee Albaugh, James Ditzel, Mark Thumma, Dale Oldham, and Devin Dahlgren. Larry and Don Hine at the Tipton Public Library in the early 50s. May 1974 class with Kevin Phelps, Lisa Sturdy, Randy Getz, Debbie Reif, Keith and Kenneth Solheim, and Pastor Jorgensen. Pastor Martins with Brad Phelps, Rich Myers, and Ed Nearing in 1981. Kathy Voss, Bill Cruz, Dale Cundy, Craig Sissel, Denny Myers, and Dan Evers in 1967. Class of 1978 with Kirk Phelps, Robbie Lewis, Scott Linebaugh, Arnetta Hanna, Lori Davison, and Gail Myers with Pastor Martins. Pastor Franker with Mark Hine, Scott Norris, Ani Cruz, Penny Ricks, Lori Phones, Christy Lunn, Todd Clippy, Jim Stolte, Terry Chapman, Sean Solner, and Debbie Myers. Tammy Peck and Crystal Reif. Ryan Hine, Michelle Daedlow, and Kirk Brown. Pastor Mary with Nathan Daedlow, Jenny Cruz, Luke Lydell, Erica Esbeck, Brian Schultz, Patrick Steffen, Rachel Humphrey, Jamie Reichert, and Jake Balitz in 1996. Pastor Mary Egerling in 1999 with Brad Getz, Matt Black, Devin Lewis, Danelle Yonda, and Dane Esbeck. Pastor Mary with Kelly Cook, Ryan and Adam White, Alicia Tim, Christina Welch, Aaron Mose, Jake Reichert, Chelsea Zipp, Zach Keel, and Julie Linville. Pastor Enan with Nick Thumma, Jason Stonerook, Aaron Cundy, Rita August, Rachel Aarons, and Carol Rechterman. Pastor Mueller with Derek Cundy, Elena Black, Carly Herring, Wayne Rouse, and Brittany Nelson. Pastor Danita with Caitlin Cook, J.J. Cook, Chad August, and Sarah Baylitz. Brian Baylitz with grandparents Ron and Carolyn on his confirmation day. Pastor Danita with Eric and Daniel Lewis, Audrey Yonda, and Zach Owens. The youth group is in their newly painted meeting room. Teenagers relaxing as they learn. Elaine Mose, Ann Moeller, and Melissa Myers enjoying a board game. The following pictures are from the girls' night out at Pastor Danita's home. The evening included snacks, makeovers, a lot of fun, and a sleepover. The youth had a ski party at Sundown Ski Resort in Dubuque. Boxed in at the youth quake in the early 2000s. Youth quake accommodations. Social time. Ice skating party at Coral Ridge in Iowa City. Snacks and shopping after skating. The live nativity done by the youth and their leaders in 2003. Decorating the narthex for Christmas. Youth leading a processional for worship.